There we go. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for this. I'm really excited about this.
I have a question for you.
Lay it on me.
The podcast notes open?
Not just yet, but I can get them open.
Okay. Well, we're live. This is Hank. We have a special guest.
Hello. I'm Alex Goldman.
Alex Goldman is all. I don't know if you've heard of that show, but it's one of the podcasts. It's a very popular one, and it's very good. And he's guest hosting for John, and so I asked him if he also wanted to hang out for our live stream, and he said, "Yeah, okay." So if anybody has any questions about the internet,
I'll do my best. I make no promises.
Oh, it's a podcast that is I don't know. You pitch it. Pitch it to me.
A lot of stories about the internet are pretty dry. They're about policy. They're about technology. But the internet is full of wonderful and amazing communities. Nerdfighteria being, one of those many communities. And that sometimes they produce incredible, beautiful, heartbreaking, hilarious, infuriating stories. And it is our goal to try and find those and put them on the air. Sometimes we stray a little far from the internet, but that's basically our goal.
It's really good. I like it a lot. I've been a regular listener, and apparently you're very loud, and I can't turn you down, but you can, maybe.
Yes, maybe I can.
You're also... I feel like I'm regular loudness, but I might be quiet.
Am I still very loud? Can you ask everybody if I'm still very loud?
You sound better now. You sound better to me now.
So we have many very fancy studios in our office, and then we have this one kind of ramshackle. It's like a tiny shack in the corner. We call it the bungalow. And today I'm recording from the bungalow. So it is a mess of wires, and it's very confusing to me. I do my best.
So the question I have for you, if you've opened the podcast notes, is because I want to make sure that we have the same notes open, because I got confused.
All right, hold on just a second. You sent them to me, and I am going to find them.
Sorry for everyone who I may have prepped the wrong podcast notes. This episode with Hank and Alex Goldman, if I seem like I'm not the sharpest tack, it may be because I haven't read any of these questions before.
Podcast questions, episode 119. Okay, I see it. I see an introduction.
Great. Well, that's the one I was looking at. Things are all... It's all looking up, Alex.
All right, everything's perfect.
Things are golden. John's doing... I'm looking at the questions that are in the chat. From people, and one of the questions is John still alive? You know who John is, right, Alex? My co-host and brother.
Yes, actually, I happened to meet him randomly in a. I was on vacation, and I happened to be in the same store as him, and I said, "Aren't you John Green?" And he said, "Yeah," and I said, "I'm Alex Goldman from Reply All." He said, "No kidding," and then we had a brief conversation. He was also on vacation.
Good. He is doing better. John texted me yesterday, and he said, "I'm 90%, so I could pod tomorrow if you want me to." And I said, "But Alex Goldman already's going to do it." So the day off, which I'm sure he appreciates, though I also imagine he wants to come back and podcast more. But yeah, so he's feeling much better. He's much less dizzy. Vertigo, and yeah, it's a bummer. But the very good news is that sometimes never goes away. And of course, John, being a hypochondriac, was afraid that was going to be his fate, and that he would have vertigo forever. But it turns out that he won't. So everything is good. Better. Alex, somebody said, talk about Bitcoin.
No, I don't want to talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah. Bitcoin.
It's a
Boy, oh
currency.
boy.
I have
No,
I actually have a
that's not
friend who is a reporter named Kashmir Hill, and she did a story in I think 2013 where she lived off of Bitcoin for a month. And at the end of the story, she went to a sushi restaurant in San Francisco that accepted Bitcoin and bought a bunch of her readers sushi. And she tweeted yesterday that she bought, in today's Bitcoin valuation, she bought $99,000 worth of sushi.
That is one example of a currency that is not functioning well as a currency.
Yeah. Yes.
Haley wants to know what the best marshmallow size is. It depends on the application. Like, what am I doing?
Hot chocolate, it's miniature marshmallows. And then roasting is the sort of standard size marshmallow. Are there other sizes?
They roasted a extra large marshmallow, and it was a total failure because it takes forever to get the heat into the marshmallow as is without just lighting it on fire, you know? And so it took way too long to get this marshmallow hot, and then it was like falling off the stick, and then it was catching on fire, and it was just terrible. And so I think that the big marshmallows are a huge mistake.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't even know those existed. But why would the art of cooking a marshmallow to the perfect proportion is it's a real talent. And why would you want to do anything why would you want a marshmallow thicker than one that you can warm all the way through?
Is a marshmallow based on something that was actually a mallow that lived in a marsh? Excuse me while I Wikipedia. Yes, the Alethea officinalis is also called the marshmallow. Marshmallow is a perennial species indigenous to Europe, which is used as a medicinal plant. A confection made from the root since ancient Egyptian time evolved in today's marshmallow treat.
Wow.
The etymology was true in that case. I don't know what they do to turn it into marshmallows, but I would love to have some. I'm looking at the roots of the marshmallow plant, and it does not look like something that is food. It looks like something that is roots.
Yeah, totally. I'm looking at the same Wikipedia page. There is a marshmallow brand that they have at the workspace next to Gimlet, which is where I work, and it is they're like sugared marshmallows, sort of like year-round Peeps, and I just can't abide it. It's just too they're not my thing. I'm like a classic marshmallow guy. I'm also the kind of person who burns it the whole way through.
Right. I am not a patient man when it comes to s'mores. The only way I've ever had a s'more, I suppose, that was not made partially of pure carbon, which I think is a perfectly acceptable thing to do. And no qualifier. You are allowed to make marshmallows in the microwave, and don't give me a hard time about it.
I'm going to have to give you a hard time about this. I think that the adversity is part of the marshmallow process.
Which adversity?
The adversity of trying to get it perfectly right, trying to get it just warm enough to melt the chocolate, the process of trying to make it perfectly gooey in an outdoor setting is what makes it.
So you are giving me a hard time about making s'mores in the microwave.
Yeah, I mean, I preface this by saying that I was going to do exactly that.
Yeah, it is here, and there probably are good reasons to not have a treat that's made out of chocolate graham crackers and marshmallows be something that happens in your home, because then it will happen all the time.
Right. Yes.
And every of the days.
But the one thing I will say that I've noticed is that every marshmallow related confection, or excuse me, every s'mores related confection that is not s'mores. Like if like there's like s'mores candy bars and s'mores, there's all kinds of different s'mores like things. None of them ever come close to touching the actual quality of s'mores.
That is, yeah. I'm not sure that s'mores is the best dessert, but like it's real good.
Yeah, it is really good.
And I like
really good.
like things that have specific places where they belong, and you're not supposed to take them out of those. A little bit will backtrack on my microwaving s'mores, which is that I love it and I will do it. But there is something nice about certain objects or foods that belong in certain circumstances, like s'mores and campfires. And I am in favor of that, and I think that we should uphold the institutions and not take them apart just because we can.
I have a friend who this is a candy confession that I have, which is that I really like to eat the components of candy bars. Like I'll eat the chocolate off of Three Musketeers, that kind of thing. And a friend of mine, exactly, it's super gross. I'm not trying to deny that. But I have a friend who is a philosopher. He's a philosophy professor, and he told me that if I do that, I'm not actually eating the candy bar. I'm deconstructing it into just its components. So I'm only eating the components of the bar. I'm not actually eating the bar. It's a deep philosophical question.
On though, when you're done.
Right, but it's like unmaking a meal. It's like if you can extract all of the ingredients one at a time from a meal, are you eating that meal or are you eating the ingredients?
I have a sandwich and I eat the top piece of bread and then I eat the cheese and then I eat the meat and then I eat the bottom piece of bread. I didn't eat a sandwich. I ate the sandwich, but I didn't eat a sandwich.
Right.
Oh man, that sentence shouldn't have made sense. This is a good question from Sarah, though. Does that mean that when I eat Oreo apart, that I'm not actually eating Oreos? So I eat it and I like the cream out, and then I have the sides. Did I eat an Oreo?
That I feel like Oreos. There are very few meals where you like have to go through a process in order to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
But s'mores, I think of as one of them, right? It's like not just the process of making it, it's also the process of making it in adverse conditions. So too, I think that part of the very reason for the existence of an Oreo is to eat the center out and then eat each cookie individually, and you are still eating one Oreo.
Because that's the well, you definitely, again, you ate the Oreo, but did you eat an Oreo? Because you don't have to.
I don't know. I don't know anything anymore.
I eat individual Oreos all the time without the licking, and the double stuff or the dunking also is a perfectly legitimate and process based way to eat an Oreo, which frankly is my favorite way. And like I like to get it real mushy, and that is the best. But you say that there's a lot, but I think the vast majority of foods have processes involved with eating them. It's just that many of the processes are taken sort of like they're not eating processes. Cooking.
Yes. Okay.
Mostly.
Yeah.
But also other things like grinding up or cutting or like pistachios are interesting. I like pistachios because you can't just like throw a handful of pistachios in your mouth. It's just a good way to. You have to take them out of the shell every time, unless you get the shelled ones, in which I think is a travesty. And just it cheapens the whole pistachio experience.
Yeah. Well, I think that for most meals, the preparation comes before it ends up on your plate, and then you're just at most you're cutting it. But in like an Oreo or a s'mores, the preparation is part of the eating. God, this has gone in a really weird direction. Yeah,
this we started out. Somebody asked us what was the proper size marshmallow, and we have gone elsewhere. Any questions that don't involve? How do you guys eat cinnamon rolls?
From the outside to the inside.
Yeah, from the outside. Do you roll it out or do you just bite?
I do it from the outside. I just eat it like a spiral.
Yeah. Okay. I cinnamon roll by myself. To me, a cinnamon roll is a shared food.
Huh. I guess it depends on the size.
Tear off thing. You don't have to necessarily get your mouth on it because you can, like, as you unroll, you tear. And I don't know, maybe it's just that, like, the bakeries in my town make 2 big cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, that seems like a likely solution.
Yeah, because if it's like those Pillsbury ones that are like this big, yeah, that's the one. But like in my town, like a cinnamon roll, you're getting like 3 pounds of food.
Natalie Rogers on the chat seems to be agreeing with me all the way around. Eating 2 Oreos is just eating 1 Oreo. You eat it like a spiral. I really appreciate your approval, Natalie. That means a lot
to me. Is there anything going on the internet these days?
Well, I mean, in a few weeks, the FCC is planning on repealing net neutrality. That's a pretty big thing.
That is a pretty big thing.
Pretty
hopeless about this one.
The thing that's really difficult for me about this, and I feel almost scared to say it because I don't want people to think that I'm being cavalier or I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So hard to know what these companies are going to do. They might do nothing. They might feel like public outcry about trying to do bad things will be enough that it'll keep them from acting too badly. They might do things that are relatively minor or we don't notice behind the scenes, or at most end up costing Netflix some more money. They might pass it on to us. So like our Netflix subscription might go up $5. But it could be a situation where like the internet fundamentally changes and there's like a poor person's internet and a rich person's internet. And it's just so hard to know, which is why we haven't done any reporting on it yet, because we just don't know the answer.
Yeah. No, and that's very hard. Like it's so there are places in the world where you sort of get and that internet looks a lot like Facebook, or it just is Facebook. And for a lot of people in America, the internet is Facebook. And it's really weird to have watched this transition happen from like when it was CompuServe and it was AOL, and then like AOL was sort of like lost control on the internet, and they were like, no, go to AOL.com and that's where the internet is and you can do all your things. But then everybody was like, no, the internet is this vast, wonderful land where we can download free software and porn and communities about Mr. T. And then like it's sort of like come back around where there was this like tremendous, like people come into the internet now and they're like, well, Facebook has everything I need.
Right. The internet
and why
expanded broadly in terms of like breadth and depth, and then it just kind of contracted into a few sites. And it's a bummer, honestly. I really liked those tiny worlds. They made very interesting things.
Yeah. And so I think there are like the thing to remember is that there are a lot of people who are like, oh, so I could pay less and just get Facebook? That would be great.
Right. And that's the argument of the people who are anti-net neutrality. They're like, we want to give people more choice. But I'm sort of the opinion that anywhere I go, I want all of the internet all the time. I don't want to have to pay more for just like to see all of it.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Conversation between like, is this a thing that is just a pipe, or does owning the pipe mean that you get to decide what you're going to offer them? So
right.
Like, do you get to decide what kind of electricity you're going to give through your electricity wires, or do you just give electricity?
And as of right now, the rules governing electricity are the same rules that are governing the internet. They're both considered common carriage, which Guys, I'm sorry. I've been reading about this a lot. It just
Yeah.
means that they're subject to a lot of rules that that the internet won't be subjected to in a couple of weeks. And to be clear, it's not like the internet's not going to have anybody watching it. Like the regulation goes from the FCC to the FTC, but the difference between these two organizations is when it was with the FCC, internet service providers had to ask permission before they could do something crappy. And now they can just sort of do whatever they want and ask for forgiveness instead. And sort of the most that can happen is a fine will be levied.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I think that the net effect is that it's going to be bad. It's just, I don't know how bad. I don't like have faith in large corporations trying to make a bunch of money who want to repeal regulations to be really good about that. I just don't know how greedy they're going to get.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and like, well, and the other thing to remember is that this isn't like something that's going to happen in the next year. Like, a switch won't flip. It's like, well, now they can do things, and over the next 40 years, the internet's going to change. It's not going to happen now.
I think it's going to be in the same way that now we are suddenly giving away so much of our privacy on the internet without really realizing it. It's going to be sort of like the frog in the boiling pot of water situation where we won't realize it, and then one day there will be paying $5 per app we use. It's going to be pretty bad.
Yeah. At least they'll be able to turn off BitTorrent, which is, I guess, ultimately what they want to do.
I mean, I think ultimately what they want to do is like, so, the crazy statistic that I read the other day is that 2/3 of all traffic in sort of the Eastern Standard Time evenings in the United States is Netflix. And so these companies basically say like,
it's not like Hulu plus HBO Now plus Netflix plus YouTube.
It's Netflix.
Wow.
So I think essentially what they want to do is be like, well, this company uses this much pipe. I want to be able to charge them, an extra X amount of money. And what's probably going to happen is that company is going to say, all right, fine, but we're just going to pass that on to our users.
Yep. I think
someone asked
a more nuanced conversation about net neutrality than I have heard anywhere.
Someone asked if they thought
Patreon patrons.
Someone asked if they thought there was anything we could do, and I don't think there's anything that we can do.
Here's a great activist, Alex.
I mean, the best you can do is contact your congressperson and contact the FCC. But, they got 22 million comments during the comment period at the FCC. A large number of them were pro-net neutrality, and it hasn't budged that particular organization in any way. So, I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, everyone in the houses of Congress, the person of the FCC, and Donald Trump all want to get rid of net neutrality. So like I don't think that like the current citizenry of the internet influence on those people, because they're not the people that we vote for anyway.
The thing that I don't understand about this particular one is the last couple times something that was really negative about the internet happened, sort of the big 3 or 4, like Twitter, Facebook, Google, Amazon, Reddit, they all banded together and said, hey, let's not do this. And, the outcry of them and their users was big enough that it sort of put everybody off of doing that thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know why they didn't have more say in this, or why they weren't lobbying more.
Maybe that that moment hasn't happened yet. Maybe the situation where it was like, well, that was when Obama was in the White House and the FCC felt like it was something that was listening to us, and now it's like, well, like, want to do this and they're in power, and so what? We didn't vote for them. Right.
There is one more thing to say. There is one more glimmer of hope, which is, so this thing is about to pass, but even after Donald Trump became president, the telecoms were suing the FCC, saying, hey, that net neutrality order that you did during the Obama administration was illegal. And the FCC was required to sort of defend their position, even though they were planning on repealing it, which is a weird position to be in. And at least the Washington, D.C. appellate court upheld that it was like a totally legal, worthwhile thing to do. So what's going to happen as soon as this repeal takes place is that a new lawsuit's immediately going to be filed by people who oppose this move, and essentially the FCC is going to have to make the argument that they were wrong 2 years ago, and now they're right. So like the battle's not over. It's just a new weird chapter. And it might be the case that, in 3 years, Donald Trump's out of office and the new FCC comes and does this again. The only real way for this merry-go-round to stop is if there's legislation that either enshrines or ignores net neutrality. And legislation is hard to come by these days because it's mostly just gridlock.
Sounds like such a great silver lining.
Well, look, I'm just trying to be realistic here.
Yeah. Fascinating. But that's not really what. Just give a better picture of what Reply All is, because it's not you worrying about net neutrality the whole time.
No, guys, it is not. It's mostly a lot of goofing around.
Right. Do you think
I have a co-host.
Like maybe Zardulu's whole thing working toward this moment when there's going to be some big rat net neutrality from going away.
That would be amazing if rats came. If somehow there was like a gigantic rat person who stopped net neutrality.
Yeah, it's just like we'd all be like, "Whoa, okay, that's news." There's a rat person.
Max asks if PJ can say hi. PJ is in the middle of an edit on a very big story, and he's very stressed out. So stressed out. And
what's the story, Alex?
I can't tell you much about it except that it's about Mexico. But what I can tell you is that when PJ is very stressed out, his favorite thing, I mean, you've heard the show. He likes to he likes to give me a very hard time, but he becomes very on edge, and I am the target when he's very on edge.
So
I get it.
You're in the bungalow, hiding in the little office with no windows.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like we're like a married couple. So when he gets mad, he's just like, Alex, not now. I can't take it now. Ah! And I'm like, okay, sweetheart, it's fine. It's fine. I'll leave you alone.
I'm gonna go hang out with my friend on his live stream. Did you hear about PodCon? Are you aware of the thing that we're doing?
I am aware of the thing you're doing. One of my coworkers, Victoria Barner, is so excited that I am doing this right now because she really, really wants. She's going to PodCon. She can't believe that I'm getting to talk to you. She's so jealous. So, Victoria, if you're watching this, ha ha.
Great. Well, I hope to get you there someday.
Yes. So another thing about PJ, my work husband, is he's got terrible stage fright, so it's hard to get him to do live stuff.
Oh, then I don't need him. I'm on my podcast. What do I care?
Yeah, to hell with that guy.
It's Reply All with Alex Goldman and some other.
I'm the only reliable member of Reply All. Let's just be clear, everybody who's listening to this, who's watching this live stream, I am definitely the better member of the Reply All team.
Okay, well, as long as we got it all straightened out, everybody is aware. Is Victoria here? I was just checking the chat. She is. She did not say anything.
Fia is also working on the Mexico story, so Fia cannot come on and say hi either. And Shruti and Damiano are upstairs working on other things. Everybody's busy except me. I have time to just hang out in a dark room and chat, apparently.
Good, perfect. And make a podcast, which we're going to go do shortly. Thanks for your questions. Thanks for hanging out. And thank you, Alex, for filling in for John, making fascinating conversation about marshmallows and net neutrality.
Yeah, thanks to everybody who came on and said hi. I'm sorry I couldn't answer all of your questions, but they were coming too fast and too furious.
Come quite quickly. I cannot wait for the Mexico story, and I will know when it comes out. It's about Mexico. That's what was happening when I was talking to you.
Yes, I can see through the tiny window of this room. PJ nervously hunched over a computer right now, so he's working hard.
All right, good. All right, let's go make a podcast.
All right, let's do it. Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.